Our next form is the deposit money notice to buyer, okay? This form needs to be given to your client prior to delivery to the listing broker. So this only applies if the offer you're writing is going to another broker. If you're submitting an offer on a listing that your own brokerage has, you don't need to put this form together. And what this form does is it clarifies who is going to hold the deposit. Okay, so you put the property address, the seller, the buyer, the date of the agreement, who's the listing broker, and who's the selling broker. Remember, we're the buyer's agent, but we are the selling broker. We're buyer's broker, but we're also called selling broker. So, listing broker is a Pennsylvania licensed real estate broker who is required to hold your sales deposit in escrow. Selling broker is accepting your deposit on behalf and for transfer of the listing broker. If the deposit is in the form of a check, the check must be made payable to the listing broker. We already know that. And the broker holding the deposits will retain deposits in escrow until consummation or termination of the agreement of sale in conformity with all applicable laws and regulations. Okay? So you have your buyer sign and date it, and you put it in your package to give it to the listing agent or listing broker. Again, it does not apply if you're making an offer on a listing within our own brokerage. Our next form is the cooperating broker compensation agreement, co-op letter. This is how we make sure we get paid by the listing broker. Okay? So when you show a property to your client, usually the Bright MLS listing will have how much compensation the listing broker is willing to pay to a buyer's agent. So this is where we will put that information. We got to put the property address, who's the buyer, who's the seller, who's the listing company, not the listing agent, the listing broker, and then the selling broker will be us because we're representing the buyer. And then you got to put that you are the buyer agent. And then you got to mark the listing broker's offer for compensation. Either is 3%, 2.5%, 2%. Now, I'm going to tell you something. There is another form that we have in our office that we put together over the years because we have found that some listing agents, they charge their clients 6%. They offer us 2.5%, and they keep 3.5%. Technically, that's legal. But it's not common practice. What's common practice among real estate agents or realtors is that we split the commission 50-50. If I take a listing with a 6% total commission, I'm giving my co-op or my buyer's agent 3% and I'm keeping 3%. So whenever I see a listing with less than 3% commission, I tend to use that other form that I will show you guys later, because this document is not signed by the seller. If you look here, it's only signed by the listing agent and the buyer's agent. There is no place for signature for the seller or the buyer. So technically, this is our agreement between the listing agent and the buyer's agent. The other form that we have and that we can use makes the seller and the buyer agree to that. And it also says that if the total compensation is more than 2.5%, then the seller will pay us directly that difference. Most of the time, when a listing agent goes and takes a listing, they tell the seller that they're going to split the commission 50-50. And that's stated in the listing agreement, which you're going to see in another training session. But these listing agents are tricky and they want more money for themselves, so they only offer a 2.5%. Although their listing agreement with the seller says that they're supposed to give 50% of that 6%. But with this other form, we're protecting ourselves. And believe me, I have had situations where the listing agent at settlement, I see they're getting 3.5% and they're paying me only 2.5%, and I pull out my form and the seller is there and they got to pay me. Because if you don't do that form, this form is not going to hold them accountable, because this is not between the seller and you. This is between the listing agent and you. But when you have that seller sign, now that seller is responsible to make sure you get paid your full commission if the other agent is not giving you it. Okay? So keep that in mind. And this is the cooperating broker compensation agreement. And we have another document that you can use when they're offering you less than 3% commission.